Chapter 6. The station's parking lot was crowded for early evening. Uniformed cops milled around their cruisers, talking and checking their equipment. The chief's car was still in his reserved space. 3 hulking SUVs surrounded a glossy BMW. Perfect. The rich witch was here. Mathias parked as far from her car as possible. He got out of the truck and attempted to smooth Andrew's wrinkled clothes. The car window threw his reflection back at him and he winced. His still damp hair stuck out at odd angles. Beard stubble shadowed his cheeks and chin. All he lacked was some dirt to pass as a homeless vagrant.
Sir, please stop where you are.
6 men wearing dark suits and earpieces converged on him, forming a half circle at the side of his truck.
We're going to need to see some ID.
Mathias glowered at them and the demon snarled. I don't answer to rent-a-cops. I have work to do. Get out of my way. One of the goons looked him up and down.
I'm afraid I must insist, sir.
The demon leaped toward the man, but Mathias reined it back with effort. He couldn't blame the guard for doubting his word. He reached into his pocket and cursed under his breath. My ID is in the truck. Let me grab it. He grasped the door handle. The security guards placed their hands on their guns and he froze. Whoa, I'm just getting my badge. The guard who had spoken to him stared for several seconds. He gave an abrupt nod.
Slowly, keep your hands where we can see them.
Mathias rolled his eyes. These jokers were way too serious. In exaggerated slow motion, he opened the truck door, reached into the back, and pulled his badge from the pocket of the sodden pants with his thumb and index finger. He flipped it open and held it up. Good enough? Can I get on with my job? The guard in charge took the wallet. The rest stayed tense, hands on their firearms. The man nodded and returned Mathias's badge. His team relaxed, lowering their hands.
Go on.
The guard jerked his head toward the station.
We'll radio ahead.
Sure, you do that. Mathias shoved his badge into the pocket of his pants, slammed the truck door, and shouldered his way past the security guards. The sound of sandals clapping against his feet followed him across the parking lot. The blasted shoes sounded even louder in the precinct hallway. Mathias gritted his teeth. He couldn't wait to go home and feel normal again. Well, as normal as he could get. The stored blood in his fridge called to him, tasteless and unnourishing though it was. And he wouldn't have to be around any humans for a while.
More proof that Jerome's behind this.
Waterman's strident voice drifted down the hall, accompanied by her familiar stench.
This should be your only priority. I want it dealt with immediately, even if it means everyone works all night.
We'll get it analyzed as soon as... Hawthorne, there you are.
The chief nodded as Mathias entered the office. He held up a plastic bag.
I need you to log this into evidence. The lab tech is on her way in to run tests.
Waterman turned on Mathias and folded her arms. 2 security guards hovered at her elbows. Karen peered from the corner with wide eyes.
Why is it, Mr. Hawthorne, that every time I call a meeting you fail to show up on time?
I came as soon as I was called, ma'am. I'm sorry if I kept you waiting. He grated out the last sentence. Blackness swarmed his vision. It was a good thing he hadn't taken off his glasses when he came inside. She took a closer look at him.
What in heaven's name are you wearing?
She turned to the chief.
You allow your subordinates to come to work like this?
The creature hissed, clawing to escape. Mathias took deep, calming breaths. The black retreated to the edges of his vision. He could handle this. He could... Waterman snatched his sunglasses. Mathias clenched his eyes shut and dropped his head. Were they clear enough? Heart pounding in his ears, he opened his eyes a crack. She shook the glasses in his face.
Are you drunk? Or didn't your mother ever tell you it's rude to wear these indoors? And what is on your feet? If any of my employees showed up dressed like...
With all due respect, Miss Waterman,
Chief Walker interjected.
Mr. Hawthorne was off the clock. We don't enforce a dress code on personal time. He's here for the same reason as the rest of us, to help your daughter.
Waterman slapped the glasses against Mathias's chest, and he scrambled to catch them before they fell to the floor. She faced the chief.
Get to it then. Run your tests. Prove you aren't as incompetent as you look.
The chief held the bag out to Mathias. He accepted it and scanned the contents. A standard-size envelope, its top neatly slit, displayed the name Jessica Waterman in a basic font. The ransom note was a white sheet of paper with a single laser-printed paragraph. Jessica Waterman. Everything you have done as CEO of Waterman Incorporated has been a disgrace. You have been warned to cease and desist, Yet you continue to fire employees and ruin lives. All you do is take, so your daughter was taken in return. Resign as CEO within 48 hours or your daughter will be killed. He glanced up. How was this delivered? Waterman gave a loud sigh.
If you'd been here on time, you'd know it came in the mail.
Mathias flicked the envelope through the plastic. No address, no stamp, no postmark. This wasn't mailed. Waterman threw her hands in the air.
I run a Fortune 500 company. Anyone could have slipped it into the mailbox. Is that all you people can do? Make obvious statements and ask stupid questions?
We'll test the envelope seal for DNA and look for fingerprints on the paper.
Walker held out his hand to Waterman.
Thank you for bringing it in. Why don't you try to get some rest, Miss Waterman? You've had a stressful day.
Waterman stared at him before accepting the handshake.
That's the difference between us, Chief Walker. Weak people rest. Strong people keep fighting until the battle is won.
She strode from the office, sweeping Karen and the security guards along in her wake. The chief collapsed into his chair and ran a hand over his face, muttering obscenities. He settled his gaze on Mathias.
You can't help poking the bear, can you, Matt? And what are you wearing?
Mathias rubbed the back of his neck. My clothes got wet. Gomez snickered.
Let me guess. You tried to pick up some chick at a bar and she threw her drink at you.
He turned to Walker.
Speaking of getting soaked, you hear about the guy who jumped from a hotel balcony into a pool today?
Mathias's breath caught in his throat. Walker raised his eyebrows.
You're kidding. Did they kick him out?
As far as they can tell, he wasn't a guest. Hotel security thinks he was a visitor. They couldn't see his face on camera because of his big cowboy hat. We sent over a couple uniforms after we got a 911 call, but no one fessed up to letting a guy dive off their balcony.
Mathias released his held breath, and the tension eased in his neck. He'd gotten away with it, if barely. Fenton hadn't reported someone on his balcony. That meant he had something to hide. The chief shook his head.
This city gets weirder by the day. It's all the morons from Massachusetts.
He cut his eyes to Mathias.
No offense, Matt. You've been here long enough to get the idiocy out of your system. Except your fashion sense.
He and Gomez chuckled. A muscle jumped in Mathias's jaw, and he tightened his grip on the plastic bag containing the note. The demon growled. It didn't like to be mocked either. Is that all you called me in for, to log this into evidence and make jokes about my outfit? He took a step toward the door. If so, I'll be on my way. Walker held up a hand.
We're waiting on the warrant to search Jerome's house. It should be here any minute.
Yeah, we need those Hawkeyes of yours.
Gomez sobered.
We gotta figure out where this guy is holed up if the kid's going to have a chance. Man, I hate when the bad guy sets the deadline.
The chief's computer chimed. He sat up straight in his chair.
There it is. Okay, gentlemen, time to move.
He clicked his mouse and the printer hummed.
Hawthorne, take that to the lab and get back up here. Gomez's team is prepped and waiting in the parking lot.
Gomez quirked an eyebrow at Mathias.
You want to go change first? I can't take you seriously looking like that.
Mathias's nostrils flared. Fine. I'll drop by my apartment if that'll make you happy.
Hey, whatever. Seeing you dressed like a bum is fun for me.
Gomez grinned. Mathias took a step toward him. The detective raised his hands and backed up a pace.
I'll text you the address.
Mathias shoved on his sunglasses and stormed out of the office. Their laughter followed him, making his back crawl. The creature raged in his mind, and his eyes burned with darkness. This kind of nonsense was exactly why he lived alone.